Hey guys, welcome back to Young Americans Abroad. My name is Austin.
And my name is Patrick.
Hey guys, welcome back to our show.
Yeah, we got AVT and PAT. They talking about young Americans overseas. We got McKinney, Pulisic, Reina, and Des. Got that red, white, and blue USA on the crest. From England, Germany, from Belgium to Spain. Racking up all the medals on the trophy train. Got one thing on their mind, we're skill and some luck. One day we can say we will win the World Cup.
Well, guys, we're back today, and we're super excited to be back, right? 2 wins in this international window, Pat. Definitely a success.
Yeah, good to be back filming. A little bit different than the past live streams, but figured we'd all just condense it, right? For the one window, and yeah, some successful wins. Obviously, Grenada, and then El Salvador, right, to set us into our ticket to the Nations League semis. So a lot to talk about, Austin, but. Yeah, how are you feeling overall? The mood. I think this is really the first competitive games, aside from friendlies, since the World Cup.
Yeah, I mean, I feel pretty good. I feel like this window could have went very differently, and I feel pretty good coming away with the results. Obviously, last night it would have been great to see the boys, play a little bit more together at times. I mean, they played very well together. They didn't lose that motivation, but things were a little sloppy. They're out of sync at times. I feel like we could have scored more goals, or we could have, with the talent we have, we could have scored a lot more versus this El Salvador team. But overall, we got both wins, right? Something that Mexico didn't do this window, which is always good to see from our end. And I feel good coming away, Pat. What about you?
Yeah, I feel fantastic. And you mentioned that too. Maybe the El Salvador game didn't have as many goals, but started with Grenada, right? Going there, I didn't realize, but I think it was a stat that we've never in the program in history have scored 7 goals away from home like that. Obviously, Grenada snuck one in, and they had another shot or two during the game, which was kind of scary in the beginning. Initially, I was like, what the heck's going on? We were dominating. But, yeah, I mean, 7 goals. Granted, not the strongest team. I think that's still saying something, right? That the guys were taking it seriously. It wasn't like Cuba or some of the other places we've gone to in the past and, we're making fun of the pitch or making excuses. It was none of that. We had the skill, we had the talent, and then the drive was there, which was fantastic to see in that first game.
Yeah, and the pitch conditions weren't the best either, right? It was, what you expect away in CONCACAF. And, our guys rose to the occasion. Again, they didn't take the game lightly. They went into that environment that was probably very unfamiliar to them, with most of these guys coming from Europe, where, again, the circumstance around where they play, it's got a lot more eyes on everything, and things are nicer, right? Just to be frank. And I think they really took the challenge well. And, like you said, scored 7 goals away from home. That's always a great feeling. We got to see Christian Pulisic play with a lot of confidence and get more minutes, under his belt now back from injury. And
Ricardo Pepi looked great. Austin Christian had a fire within him that game too. Grenada. I mean, he was maybe not the strongest competition, right? But he was involved in assists, goals. He was tackles. Look at the stat line, but he was saying, none of this. I'm the captain, right? I'm the captain now. Yeah, so overall, really solid performance, right? Record-breaking. Tough to not get the clean sheet, but 7-1 against Grenada. Again, Pulisic, Pepi, many other names. We could go on and on, right? But I think more of the meat and potatoes of this window was the El Salvador game. And that was really crucial because we needed at least a draw against this El Salvador team that has Hugo Perez has given us some trouble. We've drawn them during qualifying 2 times on the road and then narrow 1-0 wins. And this one wasn't any different with the 1-0 win. I mean, they were set up for success in the first half, and they gave us a lot of problems.
Yeah, and Hugo Perez is a good coach, right? He really has, organized his team, given them belief in themselves. And, they've been a tough play for us, these past 2 years or so. So, it was going to be a good test for the guys. Obviously, it was home as well in Orlando, a place that we've done historically really well in. And, I was really excited to see, again, the slant we took on this game, right? We kind of played a second choice lineup in Grenada to some extent. Obviously, when you look at Pulisic playing, he's not second choice.
Right.
But when
With
you looked at
Scally,
the defense,
right?
yeah, Scally, you saw who Mark McKenzie in the first game. You saw
Yep,
him
Brian
paired with
Reynolds.
Austin Trusty, Brian Reynolds as well. So going into this game, I was really curious to see again if we were going to put our best 11 on the field, and I really think you saw that to the most, for the most part, right? I think the only change that you could argue, maybe wasn't our strongest player in that position was Daryl DK up
Yeah.
top at striker, but I think from both of our perspectives, we were excited to kind of get to see him get a run of game time here in this game. But
His
overall, it
old
was
stomping grounds, Austin. His old stomping grounds, Exploria.
exactly, dude. He was in his element, but unfortunately, things didn't work out so well for him in this game. And again, this game was always going to be difficult, right? And I thought right from the start, El Salvador did a really good job, just kind of throwing us off our rhythm, right, Pat? It looked like we were a little disjointed, kind of right out of the gate. You saw some sloppy giveaways, sloppy touches. I know Christian Pulisic had a few touches early on in the first half of that, that game last night where it just wasn't working for him, right? You saw him do a lot of great things versus Grenada, but it just wasn't the same type of flow to his game to start this game.
Yeah, I completely agree. I think coming off of that high, the intent was right. They seemed pumped up in warm-ups and huddling right before the start of the whistle, but yeah, El Salvador came to play. They were ready. So
Yeah.
like you said, Pulisic, some errant touches. They were cutting off the pass lanes to Reina. He wasn't really involved or taking on players there like we've come to see. A lot of the success, I would say, early on, and people were giving him stick. Maybe not the best. He had a few giveaways on Deja's side with best. There were some good overlaps. 1-2 combos where we saw some free kicks drawn, some crosses into the box. I think we saw some elements there going forward. And on the flip side, right, Anthony Robinson didn't have his best game. He looks just tired, right? Him and Reem have been through a lot with Full America, the World Cup. I mean, he's got the miles on his legs. He just looked a little gassed, in my opinion, tonight. So obviously that Pulisic Robinson connection, that flank wasn't there. And then even the midfield, right? Without Adams, how are we going to play in that double pivot? With Gio ahead, how are we going to penetrate El Salvador? And they did a tremendous job in the first half.
Yeah, I really thought things looked well from how Anthony Hudson set up this team. I really felt comfortable with the positions we were getting into. Right, we had some chances even in the first half to score and make this game a little bit different. And I really thought again we were set up to exploit El Salvador pretty well. I think it was just down to again kind of our rhythm we had with each other. Things were just a little bit off, right? We were getting into good positions, but those final balls just weren't really hitting, right? And I think again it was up to El Salvador making it difficult for us. They were constantly battling our center backs and our fullbacks as well, right? And trying to get the ball up the field. I can think of a few instances in that first half where
pretty crunching fouls too.
Yeah, it was tough. So going into halftime, kind of what was your pulse of the game, Pat? 0-0. El Salvador didn't really have too many chances. Again, we didn't have a great amount of chances either, but
exactly what you just said. Perfect segue because they didn't. I think Reem and Robinson looked fantastic defensively. I had no concerns. I honestly thought halftime was needed. We need to reset. I didn't think we needed any immediate changes. We weren't playing. The final product maybe wasn't there, but you could see the tide was changing. They were going to get tired. I thought exactly how we started. We were going to hit the ground running. I think I was texting you and some of my other buddies, Tyler. Shout out to Tyler McCobb. That week we're going to come into that second half, first part of it. And if we don't score a goal or two by the 65th or 70th minute, it's going to be a long CONCACAF-y type of game with delays. So I was ready for the guys to hit the ground running. And Austin, I think just one point I want to quickly bring up, which was really glaring and bad. Set pieces were so poor. Pulisic's deliveries were horrible. I don't know why he kept, and I guess he's the guy, the number one guy, but there was multiple times in corners and set pieces that Zendejas drew that Pulisic was just not putting the ball into the right position. And then even some of the finishing, some errant headers by, I think Weston had a few wide open ones initially, which he's tremendous typically at. And it just wasn't
Too
connected.
unselfish in that one.
Yeah. So I just wanted to point that out quickly, but what were your thoughts, going into the second half, and how do you think we closed it out?
Yeah, so I mean, like you said, I think we needed to reorganize a little bit. And I think we really came out of the second half or into the second half at a halftime with a vengeance, right? We came out, we had some quick chances right from the start, some good play in the final third, getting into some dangerous positions, and we were really making things happen, right? And finally that goal came after we made our first two substitutions of the game, right? So we brought off Alex Zendejas for Brendan Aronson, who again, Zendejas had some really good moments with Serginho early on in that second half, just combining, winning fouls. So it was really positive. I saw him get some stick on social media, but I really liked what he brought to this game. I thought he fit right in with this group, right? And he's
one of the
players that's
we were defending him. I think he was as bad, and there were other players that were worse than him. And he had some really bright moments too, drawing fouls and critical spots for free kicks.
I love his touch on the ball too. You described it last night, Pat, as zesty. He's a zesty player. He adds a little something. And I really like his qualities. I think he's going to be a part of this, group going forward. I really do. I think he fits in really well. Seems like he has a good rapport with the guys. So super excited to see more of him. But that change happened, right? To get back to the game here real quick. And then Ricardo Pepi came on. And again, we got to see a lot of Ricardo in that Grenada game. Played really well. Again, Grenada's not the same level of opponent as El Salvador is, and provides the same challenges. But right when he stepped on the pitch, a minute later, Weston McKennie played a phenomenal, greatly weighted through ball to him. And did a great job. Again, staying patient, holding off a defender, and finishing on goal to give us that 1-0 lead that we were searching for all game. Right, Pat? We were waiting for this.
And gosh, man, Ricardo Pepi's eyes probably lit up, right? Like a kid at a candy shop with that delivery McKennie found. That angle of the pass, the weight of the ball. And then Pepi's movement, man, it just kind of like I'm sure you're happy, right? Your team, but if I'm DK on the bench, I have like a crushing, sinking feeling, right? You're like, oh man, like I couldn't get that service, or like that first half just wasn't set up for him. And Pepi delivered, man. So that was really impressive. And to your point, I think Gio too really looked much more lively. Pulisic, right? Maybe not his best game, but he was doing the dirty work. He was sticking in tackles, trying to get involved in other little things and letting other guys take control. And that's what's so great about this team is we're not fully reliant on, a Pulisic or a Dempsey, where we almost kind of, I think you said it, kind of forgot that Pulisic was still in the game, and some other players were stepping up tremendously in the substitutes. So, yeah, Gio's shot, I think, right off the post he had, I don't even know how he just casually movement, dips of his shoulder and hips, and how he can fake out defenders. I thought he showed really brightly in that second half, in the second game here in El Salvador. I think aside from that, I would have given him maybe a stock down or like average. But I think that second half, in a way, shifted my opinion. And he played really well. So I was impressed with him, along with, like you said, Pep, because there's been a lot of talk, Austin, with number 9, some other guys coming in. Pepi left off. This is a big, I would say just kicking the GGG horse that's already down. These goals here. And also Balogun, right? So a lot of Twitter, the social media posts, the courting, right? Southgate in England now getting involved, and just all the noise around that. And Pepi said, no. We put some balls in the back of the net and show I'm still here.
Yeah, honestly, I mean, that's such a super exciting storyline. It looks pretty promising right now, right, Pat? That Balogun's going to be again wearing the red, white, and blue for us. But yeah, I really think Ricardo Pepi is a complete striker and someone that can really challenge, Folarin and Balogun for our top striker position.
Those two guys, maybe even playing together, depending on formation, or just competing with one another. great options, Austin.
Yeah. Well, there's not too much that really happened after this goal, right? We saw some, a few more chances in this game. I know Ricardo Pepi had a great,
Yeah,
takedown in the box, so that just the shot just didn't go his way.
that was so nice. Della Torre too, juggling through to an offside pool,
Yeah.
skied it
Oh my
over.
goodness. Would have been great to see those go in. But all in all, game finished, right? 1-0. We came away with 2 wins in the window. Again, super critical. Looking ahead now, right, Pat? We're going to be playing Mexico twice now. 2 times in the span of 3 months.
Yeah,
We got the the Continental Classico coming up, the
that's right.
inaugural
First one.
Continental Classico. So that'll be happening on April 19th, and that'll be comprised, I think, of pretty much only domestic players, right? Maybe
right.
we'll see
The way it falls in the window, and Austin, why you said off camera that we had a full European-based player pool here for this camp.
All but Miles Robinson and Alex Sendejas.
That's right. That's right.
And Johnny. Can't forget Johnny.
Very true. Apologies. But primarily European-based, and then we, obviously we'll see a lot of the other guys from MLS, right, for that friendly. So obviously it's a rivalry, right? But in my opinion, I'm looking more forward to the semifinal in Vegas against Mexico for the Nations League. Again,
June 15th.
June 15th. That's right. Book it, right? If you're not going to Vegas, we can all fly out there, right, guys, and put some money on the game.
Yeah, exactly.
No, but I think, Austin, just the point of the friendly, in my opinion, a little bit oversaturated. I think just seems a little bit unnecessary, but at the same time, I guess I understand it from the federations and CONCACAF perspective, but I'm just looking beyond that to actual trophy, silverware on the line.
Yeah, I think it's an interesting concept. It just seems like another forced game, right? You're talking about another roster that's not going to be really a fair representation of our strongest lineup. It just seems, again, like a watered down version of the USMNT, which for the casual fan, I don't think it's going to really make sense for them.
No.
For some of us diehards, it would be cool maybe if we go with a younger lineup from these, MLS rosters, maybe use this as like a U20 World Cup tune-up, something like that, with some of those players that, from MLS could be called up for this game. It could be cool to see, but at the end of the day, it feels a little, I guess watered down is the best way to explain it. So I don't know. Tell us what you guys think in the comments. I feel like a lot of you guys will be kind of in the same boat, in the same camp with us, but curious to hear what everyone says.
And Austin, I think just with looking ahead, and I know, right, maybe not the strongest opponents, but overall camp takeaways. I know we had that Balogun story circulating. That's crazy. And maybe we can lock that up there's been rumored he's going to be ready in June in the summer. That's what everyone's saying. I know 29 on Twitter. That's a big talking point. All the other USMNT Twitter accounts. I mean, gosh, those rumors are circulating. And I'll be honest, I was a little bit of just skeptical of the whole thing beforehand, but there's been a lot of steps that have been true. Breadcrumbs throughout this whole process, which have been very accurate. So I'm not trying to get my hopes too high up, right? I hope we all aren't, but it's looking pretty promising. So I think aside from that storyline, I was
going to just say real quick, Pat, isn't it crazy how we can still be an attractive option for him, even though it seems, again, our federation's kind of in disarray right now.
No,
and we're still attractive.
No coach.
Yeah, it's crazy because that's, again, the level of caliber of players we have right now is so high that players, will see that core and realize, well, again, the federation has some things to sort out, but that's a group of players I want to play with. That's an exciting, just group of guys, right, to kind of, have an international career with. So, I just wanted to throw that in there, Pat. I feel like that's just, I don't know. It should be a good vote of confidence for what's to come, hopefully in 2026. And again, just give us more confidence away from all the stuff we can't handle, right?
I know, exactly, man. It's nice to move on from that and the fresh start. I full agreement with you and feeling good about it. But aside from that, right, we don't have him yet. So just camp takeaways quick, Austin. Maybe some one or two, stock up or guys maybe that really stood out to you, or maybe even guys that kind of trended down. But I just want to hear from you, maybe the players that we have. Who are some of
Yeah.
the key players?
Yeah. So I think, the one that really stood out to me was obviously Ricardo Pepi, right? Scoring in both games. I think 3 goals total in these 2 games. So yeah, I really think he again showed us why he deserved to be at the World Cup. Last year, and
I can't believe we left him off, man.
yeah, and just really showed us again that he is our starting striker when everyone's healthy. I think he's better than Josh Sargent. Right now he provides more of a total package than any of our other strikers, right? You can talk about some other strikers that maybe provide more in different areas from him. But when you look at, again, complete strikers and the complete player that Ricardo Pepi is, I think he's our best option going forward. And again, he's still super young, right? He's got, a lot to decide this summer, with this club situation. But I really like his mindset. Again, I think this camp showed that he has that winner's mentality. And that mentality to fight and show people that he has what it takes to be a star for this team. And I really just thought that was a really positive takeaway from this camp.
Completely agree. And I want to flip side on the defensive end. Been getting a lot of stick and criticism with club and just the situation he's in. I think Serginho Dest showed really well in this El Salvador game. I think this is exactly what we talked about before the camp. He needed this to get back with the guys. This seems like a fun personality, right, to be around.
Mm-hmm.
He's motivated, gels with the group really well, and you could even tell, right? Zendejas, early, newer guy coming in, he had a connection with him, 1-2 combos, as well as, McKennie, Reyna. Dest just flows really well offensively, and everything, even at our lowest points in that game, the positives were all coming from Dest's side. I think he really proves his worth offensively, and then even defensively too. He looked pretty sound. He had 1 or 2 bad giveaways at the end.
Yeah,
he covered really well, and for the most part, stood up to the challenges and was communicating. You could see he was very animated in the field, directing guys there. I was just very overall satisfied with his performance, and hopefully he can try to turn whatever situation is around at Milan and get on to a new club.
And that's the thing too, right? He's coming from a pretty, bad club situation right now. I'm sure he's not very happy with how
he's in
his
club purgatory
has gone. Yeah, pretty much. And so yeah, it was big to see his attitude and just approaching this camp in the right manner. Still feeling comfortable enough and confident enough in his abilities. Right, you didn't see any shaking confidence. You didn't see any bad body language. You saw a guy that was truly bought in, comfortable with the group. So yeah, that's a great shout, Pat. And then the final one I had was someone we just talked about a little bit earlier, is Alex Zendejas. I really liked what I saw from him this window. Again, I think he really impressed me with just how comfortable he looked with, some of these other players who, again, are playing in the top leagues and have some really great technical abilities and qualities. And to me, it didn't seem like he stood out at all. I think he really fit in. I think he, again, excelled at moments in this El Salvador game and really was kind of the catalyst, especially early on in that second half, to get us some opportunities to score and make things happen. So I really like what I saw from him. I think he, again, should be a big part of this group going forward. Maybe as that second tier, player, right? A player that could come off the bench in games or start in certain situations. And again, his club career, could have some things to decide again if he continues to play well in Mexico. Hey, maybe he moves abroad and tries to, take that next step in his career and uses the national team as a platform for it.
Couldn't agree more. I think that's the next step, and I'm with you. I think, again, judging the opponents and all of the games here, even right in the past friendly that he played in, I think Tejas has really proved his worth. I'm fully in agreement with you. I didn't think he was as bad as a lot of people, again, were saying on Twitter. When you rewatch and just go through the impact he had drawing those free kicks. Everything positive was happening between him and Dest. It was not on the other side with Pulisic and Robinson. And yeah, he had some giveaways, bodied off the ball a little bit, but yeah, he just offers something different. That flair, that technical ability. So yeah, I completely agree with you. And I think just the last point, maybe not player specific, but
Sure.
we're all happy. Just watching these two games, aside from the World Cup, these are first competitive matches. Those friendlies were really underwhelming, just with all the Reina drama circulating and Anthony Hudson coming in. It just seemed like everything kind of water under the bridge this camp. We had a really strong group here. You never really felt like, even with the tight scoreline, that we were under duress or jeopardy. I think we took it to, both teams. El Salvador, maybe not the scoreline didn't reflect it, but the chances we were creating, especially in the second half, it could have been 4 or 5, 6. Weston involved rain off the post, a few other chances there. Pulisic, if he was just skied a few over in the 18-yard box. Just the tenacity that the guys have in that technical ability is just overall a joy to watch. Coachless or not, right? I guess coach, sporting director or not, the guys are still doing it. So I think that's just a big overall takeaway. Feeling well, heading into the semifinals against Mexico.
Yeah, I fully agree, Pat. I guess now, do you want to take a look at some of the negatives coming away from this camp? I feel like there's not too many. So, I feel like we all are kind of in the same boat where we feel good coming away from this window. But if you had to pick, 1 or 2, Pat, what would you say are kind of some of the negative things to take away from this camp?
Yeah. And I don't like picking on, anybody, right, in particular. I would say, unfortunately, for negatives, when I'm thinking on the number 9 position, I think, unfortunately, DK is just not there yet. I think there's other guys that are kind of right on his level or above, and obviously Sargent wasn't involved here. Pepe really took his chances. Again, DK didn't have the best service to him as well in the first half, but
yeah,
I think he still has a little bit of ways to go. I still believe in him to be a good rotational piece in the national team. I think he can get there. He just needs a little bit more game time. Go back to West Brom there in the championship, continue to deliver, get those performances, and maybe he'll have additional chances. But I just didn't think he took his shot in this camp.
That's fair. I really believe in Daryl DK, so I'm sorry, Pat. I'm not going to truly agree with you. But
yeah,
I think
agree to disagree.
Yeah, I think we'll have to see. There's a lot of options now at striker, right? Which is something we couldn't say in the past. I mean, we just heard the rumor today that Brandon Vasquez is being courted by Borussia Mönchengladbach. So that could throw another kind of interesting wrinkle into this talent pool, especially with the summer coming up.
What were your takeaways? Anything glaring, player, or just team in general?
Yeah, well, the one loser of the window, I think, and I love calling it this, I think would be Greg Berhalter, right? You see Ricardo Pepi, clearly being one of the big winners of this window. A player that, again, he left off the World Cup roster. Still doesn't make sense to me, to anyone, hopefully. And again, when you look at just some of the way this team was set up by Anthony Hudson, right? It seemed like there was a lot more freedom. I know there's talk about that in some of the press conference answers that players gave. You really saw that. Yeah, you really saw that on display in this El Salvador game. And again, I think some of the tactical flexibility, right? Anthony Hudson, again, played with, Wes McKinney and Yunus Musa playing more deeper lying midfielders instead of those two, pivoting 10s or higher up the field 8s. And I really think, again, he was molding this team based on the players that we have and trying to play to their strengths more, which, again, when you think about it, right, that's like a no-brainer, right? That's what a coach should be doing. We shouldn't be trying to fit, square pegs and round holes. So I really, that's been the epitome of Berhalter. So I really think this window just kind of reinforced that, for all the good things that Greg Berhalter's done, right, and, wooing some of the dual nats to our program, again, getting us, some hardware in the past few years, right? Winning some trophies for our team. I really think there's a lot more out there to be desired from a person in that position. And I think someone that's not him could provide maybe a better opportunity for us to get better and grow as a team. So I really, I'm not sold on Anthony Hudson. I want to make it clear. I'm not thinking Anthony Hudson deserves this job long term. Again, we'll see what the future holds. I don't know if there's anything he can do to change my opinion on that, Pat. Maybe you can talk about what that would entail. But
I agree. I mean, he managed New Zealand, Bahrain. Fantastic, I think, coach for, this is, I mean, there's not much more to say about it. Maybe in the assistant realm for the U.S. or continue to get other experience and come back, but he's not a long-term solution.
Yeah. And I think something else about him that, again, we need to look at is he comes in with a different perspective, right? He's been, in this U.S. program now for a little over a year and a half. But again, he's not ingrained in the U.S. culture, right? He's coached in MLS before, but he's never played for the USMNT like Greg Berhalter has. He hasn't been one of those core old time guys.
Very good point.
I feel like he just brings that different energy to the program. A different perspective in terms of the global football landscape, right? Just a kind of like what Jurgen Klinsmann brought to the program, right? A different sense of hope that kind of is refreshing, right? When Jurgen Klinsmann came on board, I feel like that was, again, very refreshing in the moment and really helped spur us to, a pretty good showing at the 2014 World Cup. Obviously, things went sour, so I'm not saying that long-term it's going to, be the best possible thing for us. But I think in this moment, it's gone a little stale with Greg, right, Pat? It just feels it just doesn't feel right. And I feel like some new blood, a new perspective could really do wonders for this team.
Yeah. And again, for the most part, most coaches, right, have their cycle and then it's time to reset from the international standpoint. So really burning the bridge with all the story behind that. Again, horrible, unfortunate the way it transpired, but now our dust has settled. We had this window. I think it's just kind of, we've moved on.
Yeah. I hope management sees it that way too. But again, management is
management?
Not to be found right now. So that's where I get nervous. But
who is management, Austin? I don't even know.
Yeah, Michael Scott's going to be in charge by the end of the whole saga. So.
Yeah.
The only other loser I had out of the window, and this is almost just by default, is I would say Alan Signora and Georgi Mihailovic, right? So every other
no minutes
outfield player played minutes in this window. Again, Anthony Hudson did a pretty good job of rotating players, and those were the two that didn't see any minutes. So obviously Georgi Mihailovic joined a little bit later, or wasn't in that main inclusion, basically due to Tim Weah's injury. He got invited in, so I feel like he kind of gets a pass. But Alan Signora, again, we saw some good moments from him in January. I feel like he was in the same camp as Zendejas in terms of just the opportunity, and clearly Zendejas got his opportunity in this camp. Signora did not. So yeah, I hate to say it, but I feel like his stock has kind of gone down after this camp.
Yeah, I think I can definitely agree to some of those points. Maybe still kind of neutral. Just a strange circumstance with this window, but yeah, I would say kind of plateau, stock down. I think Mihailovic has a little bit more of a potential fringe future. Maybe he's on that B kind of Gold Cup roster. Some role to play there, but yeah, it's tough. I mean, there's a lot of depth. There's a lot of guys coming through, even some of our U20 guys, and they're in some action here, and obviously with the current roster we have now, so it's night and day from where we've been, and thinking
it feels good.
2010 there in the early part of the decade.
Yeah, it really is cool to see when you look back, right? You were talking about off camera, Graham Zusi starting for us, and
Could you imagine them in a rondo or just camp with these guys now? They get
yeah, honestly, it's a different caliber, like you said. So Yeah. Do you have anything else to add, Pat, about this window? I feel like we've kind of summed things up pretty well.
Yeah, I think you ended it perfectly. I think it's just now looking ahead to these games, and in the summer, gosh, time's going on. We need a sporting director, and then that sporting director needs to find a coach. We need to have that set. We have the Copa America, Gold Cup. World Cup's not even that far away, Austin. So the Federation, wake up. I know they're watching young Americans abroad, but we had good wins here. That's great and all, but come on, the summer we have to have some things, figured out.
Amen, Pat. Amen. I agree. I agree fully. So, yeah, thanks for joining us tonight. Make sure you like this video, subscribe to our channel down below.
Don't forget Twitter, Instagram. We're always defending Zendejas and the boys, right? Catch our content and again, make sure you continue to like and follow there.
Yeah, and this episode will be available in podcast form as well on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, and Spotify. So go check us out there, download the episode, and leave us a review.
So awesome. When I become the sporting director and I hire you as the coach, right?
There we go.
Yep. Ball. We're going to win the Nations League and then, a few other tournaments. That small tournament, Copa America along the way, but we have the players, we have the talent. They'll have us, leading the reins and we'll deliver that world-renowned trophy.
That's right. We're doing a 2-striker system. Ricardo Pepi, Valerian Balogun, interchanging. They're going to score all the goals for us. And it's going to be glorious, Pat. 2026 will be here, before we know it. And that elusive trophy, like you said, it'll all happen one day, guys. You got to believe. Got to set the faith in motion.
Got to believe.
One day we will win the World Cup.